The Middle East stands at a dangerous crossroad. Washington has sent Tehran a 15-point peace plan delivered through Pakistan as America deploys 3,000 elite paratroopers to the region. President Trump says negotiations are happening right now, yet Iran denies any direct contact. And Egypt leads the urgent diplomatic efforts to prevent total chaos, while Israel continues strikes across Lebanon and Iranian soil. And the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, sending oil prices soaring and threatening the global economy. 5 days remain before new heavy U.S. strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure, which did not stop clearly. And the question now, will diplomacy prevail, or will this crisis ignite a wider war that reshapes the Middle East forever? We bring you the latest developments. Let us continue our special coverage for the most recent updates concerning this global escalating crisis.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
קרא משטר הרשע באיראן, מוות לישראל, מוות לאמריקה.
Pakistan is offering a neutral stage for historic diplomatic talks between Washington and Tehran. Prime Minister Sharif aims to bridge the gap and halt the ongoing conflict before it spirals further out of control. And the United Nations has welcomed this mediation. As the blocked Strait of Hormuz chokes global energy supplies, the world sees Islamabad as a vital hope to lower soaring fuel prices and inflation. Though Iran denies secret negotiations, this proposal offers a strategic way out. With Trump's bombing pause ticking away, Pakistan's move could be the final chance to secure a comprehensive settlement. A fresh wave of U.S. and Israeli strikes just targeted the area around Iran's Bushehr nuclear plant. While the facility remains safe for now, this attack marks a massive and risky escalation. Meanwhile, Iranian military insiders are calling President Trump's claims of peace deceptive. They believe talk of a deal is merely a distraction from the ongoing air campaign against Tehran. This contradiction between secret diplomacy and active bombing creates a volatile atmosphere. And as the war hits nuclear zones, the dream of a quick resolution is rapidly slipping away. Washington is deploying thousands of additional soldiers to the region, and this massive surge confirms that the U.S. is preparing for every scenario as tensions with Tehran reach a boiling point. Despite the current 5-day pause, these reinforcements aim to secure vital oil routes and bolster defenses. It sends a clear message. While talks are mentioned, the military remains ready for a much larger confrontation. This buildup creates a dangerous tinderbox atmosphere. As more boots hit the ground, the risk of miscalculation grows, pushing the region towards a permanent state of high alert and potential explosion. Tehran is launching a sharp psychological attack. An Iranian military official publicly mocked President Trump, using his famous reality TV catchphrase, "You are fired." And this bold insult targets the American leader's personal image directly. And this taunt signals a total rejection of recent peace rumors. And by turning Trump's signature line into a weapon, the Revolutionary Guard shows they are not intimidated by Washington's latest military threats or global pressure. And as media warfare intensifies, the war of nerves reaches a new peak. This mockery proves that trust is completely dead, making any real diplomatic breakthrough seem nearly impossible right now.
You are fired. You are familiar with this sentence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The central headquarters of Khatam al-Anbiya.
Meanwhile, the U.S. has proposed a secret 15-point peace plan to Tehran via Pakistan. And this move shows President Trump's urgent search for an off-ramp as the war's economic cost hits global markets hard. And the plan aims to end the conflict and reopen vital energy routes. However, it is still unclear if Iran or Israel will actually accept these terms during the 5-day pause. And this diplomatic gamble is a critical turning point for our region. If it fails, a massive military escalation is certain. For now, the world waits to see if peace or bombing will follow.
Their missiles are gone. We either shot them or they shot them and don't have them anymore, down to a trickle.
And to provide more analysis, joining us from Washington is Mr. Justin Thomas Russell, the Executive Director of the Global Foreign Policy Center. And from Cairo, Dr. El-Sayed Mekawi, the International Relations Specialist. Welcome, gentlemen, to our special coverage. And I'll start off with Mr. Russell. Sir, does Trump's 15-point plan represent a genuine path to stability, or is it just merely a tactical breathing spell before even heavier military strikes?
Well, good morning, Selma. It's always good to be with you. Look, I think that's the big question that everybody's trying to analyze right now. Donald Trump has been saying that Iran has been calling for these talks. He's been pushing the idea that the talks could be imminent. They really want it in a bad way. However, if he's willing to find a diplomatic solution to this conflict, he's not showing it by putting, 2,000 Marine Expeditionary Forces into the region and operationalizing 1,000 members of the 82nd Airborne Division, which is a highly, highly specialized unit in the United States Army. Mm-hmm. So I think it's still an unanswered question. Yeah. Politically, it makes sense for him. Is it reality in his Oval Office and in his administration? That has yet to be seen.
Dr. McCabe, how do you see Pakistan's mediation offer and what might it lead to?
Actually, Pakistan is harmed by this war. Pakistan is a neighbor for Iran, and if the regime in Iran will collapse, and the Iranian system will disintegrate, it will affect Pakistan badly because it will give more force for Baluch separatists who are working against the regime in Islamabad. And it will affect also the Chinese investment in Baluchistan of Pakistan. And this is a very big problem for Pakistan because it depends on the Chinese investment. There are more than 100 billion of investment in Pakistan by China. All this will go away if chaos will arise in the borders between Pakistan and Iran. And therefore, Pakistan would like to see this war end very, very soon. Pakistan also is utilizing its good relation with Trump administration because they worked together to end the war between India and between Pakistan. Pakistan also nominated Donald Trump for the Peace Prize. Pakistan also participated in the Peace Summit of Sharm el-Sheikh and also quoted this peace plan of Sharm el-Sheikh as a reason to nominate also Donald Trump for a peace. Therefore, Pakistan has good relation with Donald Trump and with his administration, and they would like to get benefit out of this relationship.
Yes.
According to reports coming out of Islamabad, Asim Munir, the commander of Pakistani army, called President Trump, also Shahbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, talked with the President of Iran, and therefore they are doing a lot of contacts, a lot of talks, trying to bring this war to an end.
Yes.
Pakistanis also are in touch with their counterpart in Egypt, the foreign minister of Egypt talked with Ishaq Dar, the foreign minister of Pakistan. They both of them also talked with Fidan, the foreign minister of Turkey, and they are trying to convince Donald Trump to end this war.
Yeah.
Donald Trump side also, feeling that he created trouble for himself by going to this war, thinking it will be a very short trip,
Yes.
and it will end
absolutely. Let me ask Mr. Russell, how can we measure the credibility of these negotiations, sir, when Washington claims progress while at the same time Tehran publicly dismisses them as being fake news?
Some of this has been a war of rhetoric and media as much as it's been a war of armament. The rhetoric that's coming out of both sides has been very palatable. So we really don't know what the reality is. Everybody is trying to flex their muscles to the global community. Everybody's trying to show strength through everything through social media to using the press to their advantage. So I'm really sure how we can gauge what the reality is versus the rhetoric. The trust issue is a very big problem, obviously. If there's not a lot of good faith between Tehran and Washington and Tehran and Iran and Tel Aviv. So, the idea that there could be a brokered, mediated peace deal on the table or even considered is going to be very, very, very tough sell in both Washington and Iran with the history between, especially the recent history.
Yes. Dr. Mikawi, does Israel's aggressive strategy in Lebanon suggest they are maybe seeking a total military victory rather than a negotiated peace?
The final goal for Israel is to reoccupy the whole of South Lebanon. As we will say, they are doing this to dismantle Hezbollah infrastructure. As you will claim, doing this because the government of Lebanon failed to disarm Hezbollah. But as Smotrich, the finance minister of Israel, declared yesterday, that Litani River should be the borders between Lebanon and Israel. He is saying very frankly that Israel wanted to reoccupy the whole of South Lebanon. And the government of Lebanon is in a very, very difficult crisis because they're trying to satisfy American and Israeli by declaring Hezbollah as a legal entity. And also they try to blame Hezbollah for whatever is going on. But the intentions of Israel is clear, is to reoccupy the South Lebanon. And frankly speaking, Americans helped Israeli achieving this goal because the last agreement between Lebanon and United States and Israel was to enforce Hezbollah to withdraw from South Lebanon as our base. But now the infrastructure of Hezbollah in South Lebanon is not the same as it was before this agreement. And Israel is trying to exploit this to reoccupy south of Lebanon. Now Israel is launching two wars at the same time. One is against Iran and the second is against Lebanon. And what is going on in Lebanon is more serious, but it is not equal in the international community as the case with Iran, because what is going on in Gulf and especially with the Strait of Hormuz is affecting the whole world economically.
Yes,
and the whole world
absolutely. Mr. Russell, can you tell me what is the true message behind the U.S. deploying 3,000 elite paratroopers? And at the same time, the U.S. says it's pushing for a peace proposal. Can you explain to us this contradiction, please?
Well, this is a page straight out of Donald Trump's playbook. It is using his mantra of showing, create peace through strength. He wants to flex his muscles. He wants to show that he is in command of arguably the world's best and most capable military in the world. and he's going to show that off. At the same time, he's using it as kind of a pressure point for Tehran to get them to the table. Tehran does not want, the possibility of 3,000 or more American forces on the ground in Iran. That's going to create a whole new problem and a whole new potential escalation than both Tehran and even Washington want.
Dr. Mekawi, with the Strait of Hormuz being closed, can you tell us how severely is the loss of the maritime corridor impacting the world's long-term economic security?
According to the International Organization of Energy, if this war will stop today, people will need, the world will need more than 6 months to get relieved from the bad consequences of what happened in the last 25 days. According to economists, if this war will go on for months, the world will face an economic crisis and financial crisis not less than the financial crisis of 2008. It means that the global economy will go to the recession, inflation will be everywhere, and we are already witnessing, before 1 month is ending of this war, we are witnessing the rise of prices and inflation everywhere in the world. That is why if this war will not stop very soon, it will be very bad news for everyone in the world, and it will be very bad for the world economy as well.
Yeah. Mr. Russell, following the strikes near the Bushehr plant, has the diplomatic off-ramp been permanently damaged, do you think, by targeting such sensitive sites?
No, absolutely not. I think what's going to be clear is that the off-ramp is going to be required for both sides. Washington needs this off-ramp. Donald Trump needs this off-ramp, quite frankly. He needs this politically. This is a war that has only got maybe 25% of approval of American voters here in the United States. That's not a good sign for Donald Trump, especially as he's coming into midterm elections to determine control of Congress. If his numbers continue to sink as far as his approval ratings, which are right now at their lowest in the 30s, if that's the case, then he's got a big political problem, and this could make the last 2 years of his presidency very, very politically difficult for him. So I don't think that these attacks are going to pull the U.S. Away from the possibility of a diplomatic off-ramp. For Tehran, they definitely need the off-ramp. This is not a sustainable war. The longer this draws out, the longer they're going to chip away. The control of Iran will probably start to chip away. They'll start feeling the pressure of the war. They're going to start definitely continuing to feel the pressure economically inside Iran. And that poses a very unstable situation for the leadership inside the Islamic Republic.
Dr. Mekawi, amidst this global chaos, can you explain to us a little bit about Egypt's role and in the diplomatic push as solidifying its position as the ultimate stabilizer for our region? Egypt's role in this whole crisis?
Actually, Egypt is playing the stabilizer of Middle East. And it is playing this role since 2014. While Israel, for the last few years, is playing the role of creating chaos and disorder in the region. And it is not strange that Netanyahu came out and says that we are about to reshape Middle East map and changing this and changing this and doing this and doing this. Now, Netanyahu is taking Israel from a war against Palestinians to war against Lebanese, to war against Syrian, to war against Yemenis, to war now against Iran for the second time. And this is not serving anyone in the region. is not even serving any country in the world. It is affecting everyone. And why Netanyahu is doing this? Netanyahu is trying to survive politically after the failure of October 7th, because it was political failure for Netanyahu. It was also security and intelligence failure, because Netanyahu defended his economic strategy to allow Hamas to get a lot of money from Qatar to keep Palestinians divided between Fatah and Palestinian Liberation Organization on one side and Hamas on the other side, to come out to the world and claim there is no Palestinian partner to make peace with him, and therefore the two-state solution is not viable and not possible. But he failed in his strategy, and to avoid being questioned by establishment inside Israel, as well as definitely his criminal cases of corruption, he is trying to keep Israel in a permanent war, as I said, from Palestinian to Syrian to Yemeni to Iranians. But definitely Israel cannot go all the way and forever in many wars. And this now, in the last few days, started to fire back against Netanyahu, because Iranian in the last few days were able to hurt Israeli very hard by more advanced missiles. And therefore Netanyahu will recalculate now his situation, especially with the coming election by the end of this year in Israel, that the opposition inside Israel now is preparing to attack Netanyahu. And therefore the current war in the medium run will not serve Netanyahu politically. And definitely it is a big problem for United States. As Mr. Russell said, this war is not popular inside United States, is affecting American citizens economically. They are raising their salaries, and therefore this will affect the popularity of Trump. It will affect his party in the coming election by the end of this year.
So let me ask Mr. Russell then, after the IRGC's, and I'm going to quote, "you're fired" taunt, do you think there's enough trust left between these two leaders to even sit at the same table?
Selma, there's never been a lot of trust. I mean, when you're talking about trust between Washington and the IRGC, that's just non-existent. And there's very little between Tehran and in Washington. The only trust there is whatever trust is built up between the mediators. So, to answer your question, no, there's no trust. There's no erosion. This is.
Do you think there's any hope of them sitting together? I mean, what do you think, personally? Do you think there's some kind of hope, or that's diminished, all gone?
Is it my hope? Look, this is a war, in my opinion, that never should have been started. This is a war that Tel Aviv and Washington began on their own. There was no intelligence estimate that showed, at least in the United States intelligence community, the publicly released versions have said that there was no imminent or immediate threat.
There's no legal basis for it.
Well, on top of the fact that there's no legal basis, which, that's going to be argued inside Congress and inside Washington circles for years. The reality is that the intelligence community, which is supposed to be the baseline for any decision-making made by the Secretary of Defense or by White House on the use of military actions, especially something this significant, basically has come out and said, and they testified about this in Congress, there is no imminent. Donald Trump said just a couple of days ago that had we not done this, they were 2 weeks away from having a nuclear warhead that they could put on an intercontinental ballistic missile. While the intelligence has not been great, we've noticed that because we're now going into almost a month of fighting between the three parties. The intelligence has not been good on this. You don't just create a warhead in 2 weeks because you have some enriched uranium and you just throw it on the top of a rocket. That's not realistic. So, the reality is that the trust is not there. The key word here is good faith. Mm-hmm. Can they act in good faith? It makes political sense for both Ayatollah Khamenei and Donald Trump to come to the table in good faith to find a peaceful conclusion to this war. If they don't, we're already seeing escalation. We're already seeing regional expansion thanks to the Israelis going into South Lebanon. Yeah. Where does it end? Where does it stop?
Dr. Mikawi, with Baghdad summoning both the American and the Iranian envoys, is Iraq becoming the primary battlefield or the most likely bridge for peace, in your opinion?
Iraq is caught in the middle because, as we saw in the last statement by some American officials, they are rejecting a new prime minister, namely al-Maliki, to be a prime minister of Iraq. This reflects the size of influence of United States in Iraq. But moreover, also Iraq is dominated now by Shia, and Iran has big influence inside Iraq, especially with al-Hashd militias. Therefore, Iraq is caught in the middle. And if this war will go on, definitely it will affect negatively Iraq, and it will contribute to instability and disorder in Iraq. Therefore, we are hoping that this war will end soon. As the late Larijani said before being assassinated by Israel, he said there is no winners in this war, no winners, especially if we are speaking about United States and about Iran. Both of them can reach an agreement easily, but the negative factor which destabilize any attempt to reach a resolution of this crisis is Israel. And when we speak about Israel in the last few days, we mean the military establishment, because they are getting a benefit of this war to destroy everything they can destroy inside
Yes. Mr. Russell, let me ask you and go to the 15-point plan. If that fails and the Strait of Hormuz remains shut, do you think the global economy is prepared for this permanent energy shock? What's going to happen?
No. What's going to happen, as my colleague there in Cairo pointed out, this is going to lead to probably the biggest economic crisis that we've seen in almost 20 years, since the 2008-2009 economic crisis. Yes. You're talking about an area that has 20% of the total energy usage of the world that flows through it, and it's basically become a parking lot for commercial shipping. That being the case, what we've got to look at is what's the long-term effects. The idea that the oil prices have spiked to as high as $118, almost $120 a barrel at one point. When they look at that,
Mr. Russell, unfortunately, I'm so running out of time, and I'm going to thank you. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Justin Thomas Russell, the Executive Director of the Global Foreign Policy Center, and Dr. El-Sayed Mikawi, the International Relations Specialist. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your special insights and your valuable discussion. And as we reach the end of our special coverage on this critical day, the Middle East holds its breath between peace and war. Pakistan mediates and Egypt negotiates, and Washington deploys and Tehran defies. And the 5-day pause ticks forward. Will diplomacy triumph before the bombs fall again? We continue watching, we continue reporting, and this is Q News and your window to the truth in uncertain times. Thank you.